me, and then I wanted to cast a no vote on 1U.
City Clerk, you got all that?
Sure did.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended? All right, that will take us to today's ceremonial presentations. We have just two today. The first one is a proclamation for Pride Month, which will be sponsored by Vice President Perea.
I'm going to ask anyone who feels comfortable coming up, whether you're from the community, whether you're an ally, everyone is welcome. Glad to see the council members have stayed, most. All right, so as we enter the month of June, Pride Month, I think it's important to start by recognizing that Pride is 365. And although we are taking extra time to recognize our community this month, it's important to know that the work does not stop beyond this month, and I think we all realize that. I don't want to go too negative here, but our community has been under attack. Not just here in the city of Fresno, but it transcends to the nationwide, international, to the point where the HRC has declared a state of emergency. And so I don't take it lightly being the first out LGBTQ city council member. Even though I might be the voice in many cases, it's the people up here that are putting in the blood, sweat, and tears behind the work that we do every single day, because while it's important to honor the progress that's been made, it's extremely clear that we still have a lot of work to do to get to a place where we all feel safe. And so while I'm proud to be here to recognize LGBTQ plus Pride Month in the city of Fresno, I also want to be very cognizant and verbalize that our work continues, and it's important to know that your city supports you, we hear you, and we're going to be doing everything we can moving forward to continue to hold dialogues, to continue to come together and share ideas and really learn from one another. I still have a lot to learn. I still am looking forward to growing relationships with all of you and doing more as a city to stand up for our community. Flag raisings are great, and we do have one tomorrow morning. But what's more important is the work that happens after we all go home from that flag raising ceremony. And so I do want to invite you all to stand in solidarity with all of us tomorrow at 10 a.m. We're going to be right out here for the Pride flag raising ceremony. And I want to pass this, there you go. I want to pass this off to Socorro Santian, who is with Planned Parenthood.
I'm going to make this short just because I want to make sure that the space is, available to our folks here who are from our LGBTQ community. I'm, fortunate to be here with them as an ally, but definitely don't want to take the space. One thing I did want to mention is that, last night we were in community in Madera receiving the Pride Proclamation there. And this is the third year that the city has made the proclamation. And I can tell you that what Fresno does not go unnoticed by other communities, and that you, City Council, lead by as an example. When we had our supporters speaking about the need, not just for a proclamation, but the flag raising, one of the things that kept coming up was Fresno is doing this, Fresno is doing that. And whenever we need to be represented, we're heading to Fresno. Madera needs to follow in the footsteps of Fresno and make sure that our communities are being taken care of. And I wanted you all to know that, because what you do in this building is so important, and it impacts the entire Central Valley. Thank you.
Hi there, thank you, Annalisa. And on behalf of Fresno Rainbow Pride and Community Link, we want to thank the City Council for their continued support and partnership, and for growing a stronger relationship with Fresno's LGBTQ plus community. Clearly, we have a long way to go, noting the empty chairs in the room, my district included. We are encouraged, however, by the willingness of the city to be present and hold a space for organization like ours at the table. Allyship is everything. Visible allyship is key. This proclamation and tomorrow's flag raising, it's not just a welcome site, but it is a necessary site. Visible support can mean the difference between hope and hopelessness. And just knowing that we are there, that you are there, and that you support can save lives. There are kids in our community that think it would be easier to be dead than be gay in some communities. And just seeing a flag or seeing themselves represented in some way and supported in some way could mean saving their lives. So we appreciate you, Annalisa. We appreciate the supportive council members, which I am taking note of as I look across the room. I'm obviously hello. But anyway, thank you, and thank you again.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Cruz from Fresno ESC LGBTQ+ Resource Center. I'm the manager. I have an awesome staff. I want to say thank you to the city and Annalisa for leading the charge. We appreciate the support. I echo everything that everyone has said about visibility, about hope that pride flags flying in our city represent to people. We work every day in the center with folks who need the support. And we are saving lives by allowing that to be a space for them to come and receive services for the entire community. The Human Rights Campaign has issued a national state of emergency for LGBTQ people in the United States. Hope and visibility with flags and proclamations is awesome. We're doing the work all these folks are doing the work after the fact, after the flag raisings to support the community. And next is support with allocation of funds. So I look forward to seeing that soon. Thank you.
Ooh, we could go on for days, but it's my honor to hereby proclaim that the month of June 2023 is LGBTQ Pride Month in the city of Fresno. So, City Clerk, will you please read the proclamation?
Certainly. Whereas the City Council of Fresno recognizes and proclaims the month of June 2023 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer LGBTQ Pride Month. And whereas Fresno joins Community Links Fresno Rainbow Pride and communities throughout the Central Valley to observe Pride Month with a pride flag raising ceremony to honor the history of the LGBTQ liberation movement and to support the rights of all citizens to experience equality and freedom from discrimination. And whereas the progressive pride flag is widely recognized as an inclusive symbol of pride and support for marginalized LGBTQ+ communities of color and the transgender community, reaffirming that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. And whereas LGBTQ+ individuals have made significant contributions to cultural, civic, and economic success of our city, state, and country. And whereas the City of Fresno is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ+ people. While society at large increasingly supports LGBTQ+ equality, it is essential to acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And whereas celebrating Pride Month annually fosters awareness and reaffirms support and advocacy for Fresno's LGBTQ+ community and is an opportunity to take action and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the progressive pride flag will be raised at Fresno City Hall on June 9th in recognition of all LGBTQ+ residents who make Fresno a vibrant city in which to live, work, and visit, and we encourage all Californians to join us in doing so. Be it further resolved that we, Council Vice President Annalisa Perea, Mayor Jerry Dyer, and Fresno City Council do hereby proclaim June 2023 as LGBTQ+ Pride Month in the city of Fresno.
Councilmember Arias.
Thank you to my 5 colleagues for being here.
Reiterate again, happy Pride to everyone. It's been a eventful month so far, participating in several different flag raisings. Kicked it off at Fresno City College about a week ago, last Thursday in the morning, and then again out in the Tower District in the evening, and of course the fantastic parade that occurred on Saturday, and we'll be doing our flag raising here at City Hall tomorrow morning. I think it's our 3rd year we're doing it here. at City Hall. Very proud of that.
Hello, Council. I am Artemis Captain Gidram with PFLAG. I'm here, of course, on support of the LGBTQ community. I want to start off by saying thank you and congratulations to both your efforts and the efforts of your constituents to do things such as electing our first openly LGBTQ member of the chamber, our third year on Pride Month of raising the flag, correct? Which will be tomorrow. The wonderful work that Jen does at the EOC, thanks to the chamber. But as Annalisa said this morning, I want to remind you that the work is not done and that there's still more to be done. And I am in support of us having a liaison to the community for the LGBTQ community, a full-time position, not a half-time position, not somebody who can barely do the work because they're barely being paid. Somebody who has full access to the ability to do their work and to reach out to the community and to be able to return to the city halls and be able to represent our community, as well as a financed stipend committee that is also able to help them support their work, and as well as future money to be distributed to the LGBTQ organizations around the city. This is very important. There's still so much work. There's still so much struggles that's going on with the community. There are still even elected officials that are directly harming our community. Even this morning, it would have been nice to be able to turn around and see all these wonderful chairs filled, but unfortunately, you would have thought that we were showing misleading and disturbing images of abortions up here, the way that certain members left. Thank you.
Jennifer Cruz, she, her pronouns, LGBTQ Resource Center. Again, I'm here on behalf of, the entire community and the work that we're doing at the LGBT Community Center. Fresno EOC is dedicated to that work, and I get to see every day the struggling and barely surviving members of this community coming in for the direct services that we provide. I appreciate the proclamation, the flag raising for the third year in a row. We want to see that continue. It gives hope and visibility to our community. Our community is afraid. At the LGBTQ Resource Center during open hours, we have to keep the door locked due to things that have happened since we opened after pandemic 2021. It's scary. It's scary to walk down the streets, an openly queer person, and know that you could be the target just for being who you are. And with the national state of emergency declared by Human Rights Campaign, I just want the entire council to be on board with, yes, hope and visibility and flags and proclamations, and allocation of those funds that everybody will be talking about today to the LGBTQ community, to a liaison. There's gonna be a lot of which one do you want? We just know that we want to see the money allocated to the resources that we're providing, period. And with the national emergency, whatever that number looks like and whatever motion it is, double it. That's all.
Thank you, Jen.
Hello, I'm Stanley Johnson. I work with the LGBTQ+ Resource Center here in District 3. I'm a resident of District 3. I've been a resident my entire life. I love my city. At the age of, I second everything that Jen said. I'm not gonna reiterate that. But just to give you a little background on me, at the age of 16, I became homeless as a queer black man in Fresno. So I had to navigate adult spaces and do probably things that I wouldn't normally have to do if I wasn't homeless. Fast forward, working here since November, I still see me coming into the center, asking for services and they're homeless, navigating adult spaces, homeless. So I just advocate for the motion that Vice President Perea is putting out. Come support us. We're already doing the work. We're doing everything possible in order to get every resource at hand to our community. So we're just asking for a little handout. And yes, a good start, but that's it. It's only a start. So yeah, we support you and support her.
Of Mr. Elizondo.
Well, it's like a broken record sometimes. The homeless are still homeless. It was announced that $1 billion was already allocated to the homeless, Yet, I saw Jerry Dyer last night on that State of the City. There's no permanent housing built with $1 billion. He was lying. As you can see, the hotels, motels, they used to have reservations. Now he turned them into reservations. Indian, like the Indian reservation. Reservation is just another word for segregation. They don't want these people around because they don't want to deal with them. These people have a lot of issues, and we have a lot of money, but the money's going the wrong place. This is just a big facade. A facade meaning nothing to back it up. Their money is just being utilized and whittled down to all of you and all of those that are behind you. We need to put a stop to this. I need to see more things done for the real people that need it. All I see is nothing but negative. They took all the trees down where they go to for shelter, for shade in the summertime. You go and knock off they already have shelters. A tent is a shelter. But they go and take it away from them, throw it away, throw their belongings away. Those people have hope that someday they will have a home. That's why they gather their things. But does it matter to any of you? No. You guys are just going there, knocking everything down, tearing things, and making it worse for them. Not better, making it worse for yourselves. You guys are under the New World Order, puppet masters. The puppet masters are the New World Order, and that's what's happening today. They took these people, Clovis, Mr. Benefield knows that they didn't want these people over there. That's why they started putting them in reservations. That's what these things are called. They're not permanent housing like the government said. Permanent housing. What part of permanent housing don't you guys understand? They already have shelters. Their tents, that's their shelter. They need permanent housing, and they got enough money to do it, but where's it going? In the wrong pockets. Buying new suits, new apparel for the city council. That's where it's going. We need to put a stop to this and put the money where the money belongs. The $1 billion stops here.
Thank you, Fernando. Up next, we have Sean Hanna.
This regards the Californian Hotel, the management there. For the past year and a half, they've refused to open up the garbage chutes. We actually made a request with Mr. Arias about this. Our shower is now down. He refuses to fix that, so there's a hygiene problem because we can't take a shower or anything. We've went to him several times, and under the lease it says the right to have repairs performed in a timely manner. He's not doing it. He's not repairing our shower at all. There's a hole in our wall. And I was wondering what can be done about it.
Good morning. My name is Jessica, and I am here representing Siren Services, Immigrant Rights and Education Network. We urge the council to oppose the sit, lay, sleep ordinances banning unhoused people from areas close to schools, libraries, parks, etc. Only furthers the stigmatization of unhoused people as dangerous when unhoused people are far more likely to be the victim of a crime than vice versa. Policies like these push unhoused people further from the city centers towards the outskirts of town where there are fewer services and they are more vulnerable. As said earlier, this city is hard to live in for those who are doing their best to survive. Let's not make it more difficult. Invest in your community, listen to housing advocates, listen to those who put the work on the ground. These ordinances do not address the root of the problem. Allocating funds towards mental health services, affordable housing, and establishing rent control do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Patsy, and I'm here with Siren Services Immigrant Rights and Education Network. I'm here to oppose the Sit, Lie, and Sleep ordinance. Fresno's houseless population is rapidly rising, as you may have noticed, at one of the fastest rates in the country due to soaring rents and the housing crisis. This ordinance will do nothing to actually help the crisis and address the root cause. We need your efforts to focus on meaningful solutions, solutions that Fresno advocates have been calling for quite some time now. Instead, this ordinance only seeks to further criminalize Fresno's houseless population, and increased sweeps makes it more difficult for people to find housing. It cuts them off from providers. It increases death and overdose rates on top of many other issues that unhoused folks already face. Rent control may not, quote, address the majority of the unhoused crisis, unquote, but is definitely a step in the right direction. Focus this energy on rent control, comprehensive mental health services, shelters, and other much-needed social services. Thank you.
Thank you, Patsy. Up next is Steve Diddy.
I want to go full circle from Bernie Sanders to Nikki Haley with a proposal for wages, maybe a city ordinance in Fresno. I don't know if that could be done. It's called my wage window proposal, WWP, and would establish a minimum wage and a maximum wage in the city of Fresno.
Hello, my name is April Taylor, salary, pronouns she, her. I'm here to speak on the liaison position for the LGBTQ community. As a proud member of the LGBTQ plus community and business owner in Fresno that specializes in the LGBT community, this is an issue that's very important to me. The position of the liaison or point person being placed in the mayor's office allows for the community to have consistent access to City Hall and allow for accountability and equity for the community as a whole. The additional necessity is for training and of all council members and staff as for cultural competency and awareness for the community. Installing a liaison while forming a transparent community commission would allow for transparency in regards to a distribution of funds to organizations that offer support and services to the community. Having the liaison position would allow for council members to be able to identify how they can support the LGBTQ plus community members within their own districts. The liaison would be able to present and recommend policy changes that will lead towards a more inclusive environment for the LGBTQ plus community and staff within City Hall, as well as members at large. We ask that this be a full-time position that is offered a salary that matches that of a current liaison, with compensation for the community commission as well. I think it's important to acknowledge that there are several organizations in town who offer direct services to the LGBT community, a community that is in need of additional funding. There are things such as the transgender healthcare that are barriers for the trans community due to not having those funds. They are offered assistance through the Fresno EOC Resource Center, as well as Trans Emotion, which is an organization that I'm a part of, and several other organizations that offer services. So a fair and equitable distribution of funds would also be appreciated and needed. Thank you.
Thank you, April. Up next is Simon.
I want to first speak on behalf of the clergy of Our Savior's Lutheran Church. They can't be here this morning because they are meeting with somebody to install the windows that were broken on their church campus. This was an assault on their church. As a Presbyterian pastor, as a pastor in general, I cannot imagine what it would be like to show up to my church on a Sunday morning or on a Monday morning and see that my building had been attacked. A place that I call sacred, a place that I call home. I can't imagine what it would be like to have a church where most people who don't belong anywhere else belong there. And to know that there are people in this city who don't want those people to feel safe. So I stand here with them. I stand here on their behalf. I want to share my appreciation for the pride flags that we see, not just in June, but that are on this dais year-round, as a symbol that the support for our LGBTQ community is not just a celebration, it's not a photo op, but it's a shift in the way of thinking. It's an acknowledgement that there are people in this community that still want to cause fear and harm to the LGBTQ community, that even a church is not safe. And so with this in mind, we are asking for the mayor to appoint a LGBTQ liaison. Almost 3 years ago exactly, he made a commitment to that. And as we see the community continue to be under threat, if not more so, this position is important, it's necessary. I also want to acknowledge all the other amazing organizations that have been doing work historically in this community to care and make safe places for the LGBTQ community. They have been doing this work because the city hasn't been doing this work, because the church hasn't been doing this work, because the police department hasn't been doing this work, because all of our institutions haven't been doing this work. And so to overcompensate for us, these organizations out of shoestring budgets have been creating safe places. And so out of a $1.8 million budget, we can find funds to retroact the neglect, the exclusion that we have caused over the years. Let us not have a deficit mindset. Let us not make the LGBTQ community fight for funds that are obviously there. Let us come together, stand alongside them, not just when there's a flag being raised, but all year round. Lastly, I want to acknowledge Stanley's comment real quick.
Simon, 5 seconds.
That we had a young man say that he was once homeless on our street. And so what things are we doing as a city to make sure that we are taking care of people like Stanley?
Thank you, Simon. Binks.
Hello, my name is Binks, she, her pronouns. Representing Community Link, I have Tracy Cisneros here as well. We want to just, once again, thank you for acknowledging the community in Pride Month. But again, just to echo other comments that we do live this life 365 days out of the year. This community deserves a bit more help throughout the year. And we believe that funds should be allocated to the community, in the hope and understanding that the distribution be decided upon or advised on by a committee that includes Fresno's queer organizations and their leaders.
Whether that means that said liaison is going to be responsible for coordinating that effort, or whether it is the full committee of organizational leaders that decide upon where those funds are to be allocated, that yet is to be seen, because we haven't really seen a full plan about what this liaison is going to be responsible for. So we are in support of the funds. I'm looking forward to learning more about what we intend to do with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Binks and Tracy. Up next is Jacqueline Pearson.
Good morning. I'm a current constituent at District 3 and former constituent in District 4. And my desire today is for each council member to see that we have more similarities than differences. I know that the bill before you now is one that none of you take lightly, nor do I. I work at a shelter for women and children in District 3, and every day we get call after call requesting shelter. Women call sometimes with tears or anger based in fear because they have nowhere else to turn, as every place they reach out to is full, as are we. People knock on the front door of my home and ask if our building is taking new tenants, which it isn't, and I see their desire to do better for themselves, but to no avail. I know each of you campaigned for this seat at the table because you wanted to enact change on behalf of others, as do I. I do not want to see disabled folks face ableist barriers as they navigate this life, as I know is part of the heart behind this bill. I believe, like others on this council and in city government, that disabled folks are created in the image of God. I also believe that my unhoused neighbors are created in the image of God, and they experience homelessness for a plethora of reasons. As author Terrence Lester writes, by displacing our neighbors experiencing homelessness, they're being criminalized for trying to exist. And for those who have been indicted for or committed crimes in the past, I'm reminded of Brian Stevenson's quote, "Each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done." I'm worried that the bill before us today is being made out of fear rather than out of love. I appreciate how Councilman Arias, Chavez, and Esparza saw a part of our proposed budget that was a Band-Aid and not a long-term solution, and put forth plans to see this area of the budget change. Similarly, like Councilwoman Perea has stated, the measure before us now is moving a problem without actually offering anyone a solution. I believe creative solutions can be found that can support both disabled individuals and that are navigating Fresno streets and unhoused individuals who currently have nowhere else to turn but those streets. And some individuals fit in both categories. Both are worthy and valuable of dignity, worth, and the chance to thrive. You have heard from individuals that want to work with you towards solutions that can benefit everyone, and then I ask until then this bill not move forward. There may yet be ideas that haven't been considered. Thank you, and know that people continue praying for you every day.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Hello, council members, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Dr. Kat Faubert, and I'm a professor at Fresno State. I'm here today to ask our council members to allocate funding to create greater institutional support, communication, and accountability for our diverse LGBTQ community. As Pastor Simon noted in his talk, recently our community experienced several attacks and threats to our safety, one of the most recent being the targeted vandalism of Our Savior's Church. Out of that grief and anger, there has been cries from actions from our community to city government. I am part of a group of individuals who are requesting budgeting to be allotted for a full-time paid staff position for an LGBTQ liaison point person in the city. We submitted a petition online and have gotten over 400 individual signatures. This position is similar position to others established in other cities such as Seattle, Baltimore, Denver, Kansas, and as well as Kansas City that work as a bridge between the city government and LGBTQ communities. In addition, we are requesting funds to support a grassroots community advisory board task force or commission. The requested paid staff position that we're asking for would be working closely with this and be accountable to them. We are also requesting additional funds to be distributed to LGBTQ orgs, providing vital services for our communities. Connected to this is my opposition to Article 21 and 22 to Chapter 10 of the Fresno Municipal Code, otherwise known as Sit, Stay, and Sleep. 1 in 5 trans people experience homelessness in their lives, often repeatedly. LGBTQ populations, especially youth, make up about 40% of our homeless population. Homelessness is fundamentally an LGBTQ rights issue, and you cannot separate them. Article 21 and 22 is a direct attack against the LGBT community. It criminalizes being unsheltered. There is no way to follow this ordinance and exist. This would leave virtually no place where the unhoused could be and given other laws regarding where people can be. Please do not pass Article 21 and 22. Please provide rights and dignity to our unsheltered population. This is our LGBTQ community. Please support them by creating institutional support within the city and rejecting laws that will target them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Faubert. Up next is Nazarene Johnson.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I know all of you individually, and I appreciate the opportunity to come before you. I wear lots of hats in the community, but today I'm standing here as a member of the LGBTQ community and as a parent of 2 LGBTQ teens. I'm supportive of funds being spent in our community for the LGBTQ community for a variety of reasons. And I can take many different paths, but Stanley's comment earlier moved me. I also was a teen on the streets of Fresno. I fortunately had a shelter, a youth shelter, to attend when I was homeless. My children, should there be an issue in our household or with their other parent, they don't have that resource, and that could put them in danger. My oldest is medically transitioning, and as I see what is happening across our nation and in our community to the LGBTQ community, there are 491 pieces of legislation across our nation against us. I think about my child and the life that they'll face, that the life that they do face. They work in a customer service position here in our community, and they get hate every day. They get tattled on for using a bathroom. I'm not sure which bathroom people want them to use because they get confused as both genders. You know, it's a tipped position. They get really awful, terrible customers saying things, and often result in 0 tips. And I say that as a parent because I want to personalize this issue, right? That every single person before you has these experiences. And we've had the church that had all its windows smashed. And that's what I fear, but not for a building, but for everybody in the community that I love. And so to have somebody in our community as a liaison is important. To have funds for for people, a task force that are stipended so we can get our young people, which estimates are about 30% of them are in the LGBTQ community. We're seeing an uptick in people that are feeling comfortable enough despite all the hate that they're receiving. So let's keep flying the flag, making our proclamations, and let's show our heart in this budget and that we will fund these celebrations and support the community with our pocketbook. Thank you.
Thank you, Nesreen.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alejandro Sanchez. My pronouns are he, him, or él en español. I'm here as a community member, part of the LGBT community, a queer trans man of color, as well as somebody who has previously experienced homelessness. I'm here to talk about the budget on LGBT issues, as well as the proposed ordinance. So first off, I want to thank the City Council for acknowledging our existence this month out of the 11 other months of the year for LGBT Pride Month. And to call out the fact that we need more than performative allyship. We need more than just you all coming out to our flag raisings and taking pictures. We need you to put your money where your mouth is, because we need a huge help. We need a liaison who will make sure to hold not only the City Council, but the mayor accountable for his promise to creating this position 3 years ago. It's long overdue. The community has so many needs, and we don't have somebody on the inside to unite the community, to be able to let us know what issues are going on, what we should be here for, what we need to know to be able to move forward and help progress our community. We also need funding, and we need a liaison who will make sure that these smaller organizations will not be overpowered by the large organizations like the EOC, who has a direct ear to the City Council. There are smaller organizations that don't have working employees who can advocate on the clock. A lot of them are volunteer run and have very small budgets. I also want to get to the Section 10-2203A and Section 10-2203B. That states it would make it unlawful to leave any personal property anywhere or to be able to possess any public space for things that cannot fit in a backpack. I was homeless. I lived in my car. Thankfully, I had a car, but it is completely unresponsible to pass this. Let's be honest, we call it permanent supportive housing, but it is not. This is not a permanent space in which they can become independent. The system, the way that it is built, it is not meant for people to become independent, and being able to recognize that and acknowledge that and still pass this ordinance is completely disrespectful of our humanity and the support that this community needs. We need you to understand that how are we supposed to house the thousands of individuals in the city that are experiencing instability in housing if there aren't that many beds? How are we going to house them if the city itself with these organizations aren't
5
respecting
seconds,
their
Alejandro.
humanity?
Thank you. Thank you. Up next is Linda from the Fresno Homeless Union.
I'm here to address the Sit, Lie, Sleep ordinance, which is basically designed to make homeless persons simply disappear, since you have completely failed to create any new permanent housing. 3 years and $300 million, and this is what we get? This is what you do? You have squandered $300 million on funding private, so-called Christian social services. And where are these providers today? They should be here speaking out against this ordinance that criminalizes homeless persons in violation of state and federal mandates. I'm sure the city is going to be sued over this, and I'd like to remind you of some simple math. You could buy 2-bedroom, 2-bath, prefab houses from Home Depot for less than $50,000. $200 million, 2/3 of the funding that you have received so far, buys 4,000 houses. You don't need consultants, you don't need developers, you need workers to erect places like this, you need funds to rehab land, but that's it. Shame on you 4 male council members who clearly have no empathy for unhoused persons, who will be facing extreme heat this summer. People are going to be dying in this heat with no place to go, prevented from seeking out shade in public places. You do not deserve public office, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Up next is Bob McCloskey.
Good morning, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just have to start out with say their names. Brianna Britton, Kathy Escueda, and Eric Bennett. These are people that were recently died or were killed by drivers, and one person burned up in a tunnel because of current heart policies and practices that this City Council unanimously supports. As Linda mentioned, a lot of money has been squandered on temporary and transitional housing. No permanent housing has been built. Now, that's the council again, and I've addressed several members of the council about this before. Why hasn't the $10 million that has been allocated and funded by state and city funds to build a tiny home villages that would house 100 people as a start, where's that? The money's been sitting there for over 1.5 years and nothing, haven't broken ground. I want to remind you of the recent lawsuit you lost. I was a plaintiff in. Let the taxpayers know that $350 million of taxpayers' dollars, were $350,000 was squandered on paying the legal fees of this lawsuit, which you lost. As Linda mentioned, it's going to be hot this summer. You have part of this ordinance, you here, will prohibit people from hanging out under freeway overpasses, anywhere there's shade, basically. Last year, several people died from heat stroke. More are going to die this year. Do you want this to be your legacy? I urge you to check out Warren versus Chico, which the city of Chico lost, similar ordinance. They had to pay a lot of money out, city taxpayer money. I want to remind you that Tulare County does respect the Martin versus Boise decision. I think people need to know the origins of this. Perhaps it's because Mr. Arias just bought a house in the Tower District near Ted C. Wills, and of course Mr. Bredfield wants to keep all shelters out of his district, and one is being set up there. This idea that you have to bar people around the shelters is ridiculous. You are barring people from MAP, from where they can get housing. If they have to line up to sign up for housing at these intake areas, where are they going to go to hang out for their appointment? As mentioned before, this is a draconian measure. People need to know that they cannot be cited and arrested for camping. They have a right to receive written notice before a sweep. The city cannot take their belongings. And briefly, I just want to wrap up to say that you have to have more compassion here. We need empathy.
Thank you, Bob.
One of the signs of a lack of empathy, one of the signs of a sociopath is
Thank
a
you, Bob.
lack
Your
of
time's up.
empathy, people.
Up next, we have Reverend Tim from Unitarian Universalist Church.
Good morning, everyone. Before I share my comments, I just want to wish my council member, Mr. Bretterfeld, happy Pride Month. Every time I walk into City Hall, I see the words, "In God we trust." We forget that God trusts that we're going to do the right thing. And my faith teaches me that we're called to protect and prioritize the most vulnerable among us. And those in Fresno include our unhoused population. We have a housing crisis, and by approving Article 21 and 22, we just amplify that crisis. Displacing people, moving people into the shadows completely contradicts the money that's been spent and the work that's been done with Operation Off-Ramp. So I ask that you, to lift up that word again, remember your compassion, remember who the most vulnerable are in this city and that we are called to prioritize and protect them. And please do not pass Article 21, 22. It would be horrible for this city.
All right, up next is Gloria Hernandez.
So today you guys heard I'm a founder of Radio Bilingüe going back to the 70s, so dreams do come true. And I keep encouraging them to blast out to the military so that we can refocus their minds, right? But I'm here to talk about human rights. As you all know, I asked you guys to start looking at the Human Relations Commission, bringing it back. Today I heard from our rainbow people asking for a representative. I've heard from the immigrant people that participate in the immigrant committee. And then, of course, there's the youth commission, and there's all these other commissions. But what if you had all those commissions under the one representative from each of them participating on the Human Relations Commission? You guys would be more organized. You would know what the hell's going on in the community. In the early 90s, I was working for the California Women's Foundation, giving away money. It was fun. It wasn't mine. But I learned then from the Annie Cross Foundation that they were looking into figuring out what was happening with the kids that were out doing the group homes and the foster kids that would end up in the streets. No livable skills, no economic basis. And so I see it still happening, and it's like shocking. That's the 90s. And here we are, 2023. Observation of your city ordinance, and I'm flashing back to when you guys did the middle of the street, don't ask for money, but then you changed it because the fire people were asking, with the boots, they were asking for money. So ordinance come and go. And it goes away quietly after the PR finishes. My question is, if you're gonna apply this to the unhoused, are you also gonna apply it to the people giving away the phones who block the sidewalks? To me, this ordinance is just giving the cops ammunition to profile and to take away things. This is a land of plenty. Unfortunately, it's unequal for many. The last time you shut down Santa Clara, they spread out. And that's why you all are complaining from the different districts other than District 3. I hope you take a good look at the letter from the ACLU you received today, because I'm sick and tired of spending my taxpayer money defending this city on frivolous ordinance. Create safe housing. You know, just give them a space to put up their tent. We're not asking for a lot. They're human beings. Every time I see that "in God we trust," I get offended, because I was taught my culture is "you are my other be." There by the grace of God, go I.
Thank you, Gloria. Up next is Socorro Santian.
Hello, council members. I'm here representing Planned Parenthood, and I'm here to advocate for our houseless population and our LGBTQ. These are our patients, and so therefore we feel the need to be able to be a voice for them. First of all, I definitely feel that we need a LGBTQ liaison. I think that by having a liaison, it would bring the voice of our LGBTQ community to the table. And when decisions are being made in regards to policy, like the houseless, they could inform you that, yes, you're helping out the LGBTQ community with all the great work that you're doing, but you're also hurting them by creating these ordinances that are only penalizing people who are already in dire, challenging situations. I'm a mom, and yes, safety is an issue. I wake up every morning thinking about my 3 children and, what could possibly happen to them. And I know that for most of you, this is coming from an area of heart and love where you're trying to protect one population, but you're hurting another in the process. This is not the answer. We need to invest in our communities. We need to treat our houseless as the human beings that they are and provide housing for them and give them some dignity. You're here representing us all. Just because some are in a less situation than others, it doesn't make them less persons. And I know that we have council members that give a damn, but come on, the rest of you, give a damn. Strategize, come together, and find a real solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Karina Gallardo.
I have concern around the item 1U that you're taking a vote on. I think that this ordinance is really extreme and it's very restrictive, and it's going to further push folks who are experiencing homelessness in our communities to be criminalized and discriminated. It's going to make it harder for them to be able to reach and get resources that they need. It's just going to be pushing them away. And someone's wearing that they're not invisible, and that we do need to acknowledge that the homeless population is increasing. It's becoming a lot harder to get the resources that they need to be able to find permanent housing and the needs that they need. I do work at Planned Parenthood, and this is also a huge population that we serve. I see it with young folks. I work with a lot of young folks in colleges, and at some point they were experiencing homelessness because they are part of the LGBT community or other reasons, and it's really hard to hear that. It's really hard to know that resources are so limited for them and that there's so little out there for them to get support. And so thank you for folks that are here today talking on this. I love seeing the support and that folks are really out here advocating to make sure that we're not criminalizing homelessness. It's not a crime, and that we should reach solutions that actually make sense for the people that are experiencing homelessness. Yeah.
Thank you, Karina. Up next is Brandy N.
Thank you very much for your time, and I do want to note that 3 minutes for budget and these important items is not a lot for those who have. I'm here to support protection for all those who are vulnerable in the community. So I stand with the ask for the liaison. That would be incredible having a voice in there, and also for some of our partners later on the EPP protections that I voiced incorrectly on Monday that are for the mayor's budget. Regarding 1U, despite the intent, it can be used because of the broad language to discriminate even beyond the unhoused. So I want to point that out. I didn't say that last time, but I want to address some of the things that have been said at last council meeting by the council members and since then. It says we need to move people because there needs to be access. This overlooks the fact that without housing, people without housing don't automatically go away from public places and stop being housed. You talk about cameras blocking city sidewalks. The people impacted by this ordinance will mostly be people who aren't blocking or causing problems at all, but are out there and unhoused, like the elderly man with all his stuff on the walker who will lose what little he has. Even the Fresno Bee article took a picture at an angle of tents that looks like it was blocking a shelter, and when you actually go out there, they weren't. It was the angle, and that is a very good metaphor for the arguments for this. Aria said that there's a balance between the city helping and not enabling people to stay out there and not get help, which misconstrues the issues because your outreach teams know that people have been jumping through so many hoops to try to get into shelter or housing, get jobs, more than you will ever know. And while I'm grateful for the shelters going to new areas, they still don't know where to go because we know there's not enough. This is not a balance, but tipping further into increased displacement and the penalty of lost possessions, even if there are no criminal charges. I've shown you during the budget hearings in Hart what people have lost and how that impedes them getting out of homelessness. We agree on safety for children, those disabled. People out there know they shouldn't be near schools, but risking losing possessions because they happen to be a block away is cruel. What we want are solutions that increase the well-being of everyone, but doing so is more complicated than adding prohibitions. And I ask if the council members have reached out to homeless service providers that you partner with regarding the ordinance. It takes collaboration. And I want to also address that regarding ADA complaints. I know my name was mentioned, and those of us who address ADA access at the shelters, we're concerned about people not being able to be in the warming centers because they would need assistance getting into the bathrooms. And if they didn't have the staff for that, we want to ensure that those who had trouble getting to the bathroom themselves would be able to be allowed by the city to stay in the shelters.
Thank you, Brandy.
We have not had a problem with people being able to. I've never seen someone be able to have a problem getting access into the shelters. I'm so sorry for going over.
No, you're
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks, Brandy. Is Josefa back?
Hi, I'm speaking in opposition of the city's continued assault on the rights and well-being of unhoused residents. Rather than seeking solutions to address houselessness, provide resources or infrastructure that can house individuals, the city has instead moved to criminalize the unhoused without acknowledging the intersections that are impacted most. That includes folks with disabilities, Black and Indigenous residents, and the trans community. By being pushed further away from city centers, resources, and safe spaces, these communities are subject to more harm, harassment, and violence. So I ask that folks vote no on 1U and work toward housing all Fresnans. And I want to shout out my council member Esparza. I hope you are on the right side of history today. Thank you.
Up next is Mary Mason.
First thing I have to say is our homelessness is definitely a result of inexcusable failure of our economic and political system, period. People not wanting to care, people pushing people away because they are less than what they think they are. I don't like that. I'm an advocate for Fresno Homeless Union and a member of the Lived Experience Advisory Board of the FMCOC. It disappoints me to have only 2 additional rep members attending today. NOFO clearly states that COC needs to be more involved, so why aren't any more members here with us? They need to be here to support our homeless individuals in fighting the criminalization of the homelessness. Also, I do have, when they talk about homelessness, having mental issues and drug problems, why are we not building any updated drug rehab facilities? These are all old facilities that people are going to try to become clean from drugs. Why aren't we having updating stuff like that for them? I mean, that'd be a lot better for them, you know? But the other thing, too, is Fresno City, Fresno County, why are there so many smoke shops around here? Sometimes I've seen 3 smoke shops on one city block. That does nothing but promote drug use, period. I mean, and there's a lot of smoke shops. I hold Fresno accountable for that. You guys are causing a drug problem, too. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Des.
Hello, good morning. I actually have paperwork for you guys. I'd like to hand to this gentleman in front of me. I don't know if you guys received copies, but we have a petition online where we have almost 400 signatures in less than 48 hours. So I'd like to hand these to you. Also, there is a map in here that has been done for you guys also. And also, you guys received a letter yesterday from the ACLU, and if you don't have a copy, I will share mine with you. So I just want to make sure you guys have your copy. You got your copy?
You can give them to the clerk.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
You guys have your copy? Okay, good. So this map that you have in front of you, this map represents the schools, daycares only. This is about 20% of Fresno. This map does not show you the libraries, unhoused shelters, unhoused navigation centers, warming centers, cooling centers, nor does it show you guys the private property. So there's a little example of where we will be allowed to go after that's placed. D6, Cedar, where are you at, Bredfield? God damn, this man's always leaving. D6, you can hear me back there. Cedar, Plymouth, Millbrook, Brandywine Lane, County Pockets, residential area, public property, Shepherd, Willow, Clovis, California Pocket, Chestnut, Alluvial, County Pocket, east side of Chestnut Sidewalk is the county pocket over there. Willow and Knees, Clovis Pocket. Somerville Drive has an amazing little triangle county pocket over 1,000 feet from the park, which will be a great place for us to rest. A lot of trees over there too. Beautiful area you have, beautiful. D4, you have 2 county pockets. One very large one too. I'd be very concerned, but you do hold the most daycares and schools in your district, sir. Tyler, I don't know where you're at, but congratulations. You're pretty much protected, but you are open around Bullard and 41 area, open around Peach, Dakota, perfect for resources because that's where the county put them. So it looks like everything on the other side of Melody Park is pretty much open for us. D7, there's so many county pockets, I'm trying to figure out who you're representing, but I would be very concerned because you got a lot of county pockets over there. D3, open, and you're open in South 9141 crossover split all the way down to the county lines, Olive down to 180 over to Cornelia, west of Chandler Airport, and also there's a huge city pocket I never knew about that's out in the county I'm gonna go check out. That could be liable for us. D2, Blackstone down to San Joaquin River over to Palm. There's a couple schools right there in your district, sir, but it opens up around West or Van Ness area, but all the way over to San Joaquin Country Club. Then we have Shaw and Marks, maybe down to Grantland, all the way out to San Joaquin River, which is great because it does have hot summers here in Fresno. Fig Garden Loop is a county, pretty much open. Chavez asked about lawsuits. You need to look into Garcia versus City of LA, Warren versus Chico, and just in March of 2023, a federal judge just ruled that criminalizing the unhoused is unconstitutional.
Thank you, Des.
Thank you.
Wes White, Salinas, Monterey County Homeless Union, part of the California Homeless Union, part of the National Union of the Homeless, which is part of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. Just wanted to point out that there's a lot of jurisdictions that are going through this very same thing. It seems like, I'm from Steinbeck country, it seems like 100 years later, we're still doing the same thing. People are just getting routed out. I'm gonna say that people need running water and electricity. If you want to spend money in the name of the homeless, or do you want it to go directly to? Because that's where it needs to go, is directly to. 400 square feet in a structure, 20 by 20, running water, electricity, showers, laundry. These are basic essentials, a door that locks. You want to talk about getting rid of the post-traumatic stress or mental illness, drug addiction. The mental illness is passing this ordinance. You know, we got the 2 Comma Club and the 3 Comma Club, millionaires, billionaires. That's everybody attacking and feeding on the 0 Comma Club and the 1 Comma Club. So stop being cannibals and spend your money wisely, saving people's lives, because that's really what this does come down to, is people's lives. Permission is the cheapest form of money to give. You don't even have to drive them out. You're paying a bunch of people to get rid of them, steal all their belongings, call it trash. This is people's lives. Food, clothing, shelter. We'll give you food, we'll give you clothing, but if you can't afford the shelter, we're taking it all back. And, this is almost like a gang. You're still working and operating like a gang. There's so many people. You're upending inalienable constitutional rights. People have a right to survive and exist and be, and they don't have, it's not about how much money you got in your pocket. You know, it's about life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Where are those at? How are you fulfilling that? You need to reallocate your money, and actually, I'm so impressed with all these folks here. I think they should run for office and take over your seats so that they will do the job that you're not doing. Stop the sweeps.
Thank you, Wes.
My name is Smiley G. I live at 2960 East Illinois, District 7. First, I want to say that I think the liaison, the LGBTQ liaison is a no-brainer. So hopefully that can just be included in the budget with the other community affair people that the mayor has. But really, I'm here in opposition of this ordinance, Article 21. Really, as we've been hearing, what this feels like is an attack on the homeless, especially with the draconian weather that we have here. It feels like, well, it's true that the unhoused are going to die when they're being attacked like this, even more so. And it's very backward thinking, I think, that Fresno is trying to fix the homeless problem by attacking the homeless. And that's not going to help them or incentivize them to be unhomeless. Of course, they don't, a lot of them don't want to be on the street. And so some of these things that, well, a lot of this, I could see how the article here talks about how we're trying to make a compromise. And of course, if there was a homeless tent on a baseball field and someone rented it, that wouldn't make sense. And I see how that's written in some of this ordinance. But all of the other stuff in there is an attack. I'd like to read, I have 1 minute. Without prior notice, the city may move or may immediately impound any personal property, whether attended or unattended. This is an attack on the unhoused. It's not going to fix the housing problem that we have here. It's only going to make it worse. Please reconsider this and focus on ways to really fix the problem. This is like trying to hide an illness by just covering it up. Doesn't do anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Smiley. Up next is David Willis.
My name is David Willis. I live at 104 East Sierra Avenue, Space 41, which is currently named La Hacienda Mobile Estates, and it used to be called Trails End Mobile Home Park. We've had a good 2+ years of serious drama. I've lived there since 1999. That's a quarter of a century. I mean, I've got everything dialed in. I was there when the city of Fresno sued George Santikian and took away his license to operate. I was there when the city of Fresno appointed Mark Adams from LA. That was to be the receiver, to rid the park of all code violations. And then I was there when the city of Fresno paved the driveways with asphalt. I want to thank you very much for that. Now, this is an old problem here. Now Harmony Corporation owns it, and they want to shut it down. Shut it down, man. In 12 months, they want to what's going on? Sorry. The scene at 104 East Sierra is now quite dismal. Over 20 evictions have taken place, a tragic plague out of 60 original spaces. A tragic plague of people losing their home. Everybody lives in fear of Harmony finding some new way to evict them. I mean, it's cold-hearted down there, just plain cruel, inhumane. My dear friend Patsy Carver with an elderly husband, very disabled, 30-year resident, living on $1,200 a month. Moving is going to be an extreme hardship for her. I mean, economically and mobile-wise, too. And where could she go on her income? And with a very disabled husband. My dear friend Sharon Smith, space 32, 30-year resident, disabled, living on $1,200 a month also. Moving will be an extreme hardship for her. And where can she go? Trailer parks are like synonymous with retirement. Let Caritas take over. The nonprofit organization, that's CARITAS. I think you're currently considering letting them take over and be a more humane. I mean, Harmony took over. They misled you. They deceived you. Now I want you to do something humane for that. I want you to end the nightmare, take it back, and give us our homes back. That'd be sweet. Thank you. Thank you very much.
David. Up next is Cindy P.
I would ask that you oppose you. I'm against you. I'm with the Fresno Homeless Union. I'm also with Christ Helping Hands, Fresno Church. This ordinance is too broad, like I said before, but I want to read what amendments it's going to be violating that I'm aware of. That's 4. Protects people from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government, which this ordinance would do. Amendment 8, excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Amendment 14 prohibits the states from depriving any person of life, liberty, or property without fair treatment under the law. And this is what God says about, some of what God says. There's a lot in the Bible. James 2. For if there come into your assembly a man with a gold ring in goodly apparel, and there come in also a poor man in vile raiment, and ye have respect to him that weareth the happy clothing, and say unto him, sit there in a good place, and say to the poor, stand over there or sit under my footstool, are ye not then partial in yourselves, and are become judges of evil thoughts? Hearken, my beloved brethren, hath not God chosen the poor of this world rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom, which he hath promised to them that love him? But ye have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seats? You know, it is my prayer that you guys have compassion and realize it. Now, I got a call right before I came in here. I have an LGBTQ homeless young man that a city worker at a local park and community center went up to him and asked him, have that lady in the van come get you, because I have been by his side for 3 months now. Pavarello has failed to help him with any of his needs. He's all ready. We got 1 more week to get 1 more document. Where am I going to, he asked me if I could please come take him somewhere. Where do I take him? Where do I take him? I don't know. I'm going to find a spot for him, though.
Thank you, Cindy. Up next is Robert Aguirre.
I'd like to dispel some things that are commonly misunderstood, particularly about the unhoused. Having heard about people that complain that the unhoused are mentally ill, that they're addicts, and that they're criminals. I just want to point out, I looked on Megan's list. Permanent residents in the city of Fresno, there are 1,509 registered sex offenders. Of those 1,509, there are 42 that are in violation. I also did a search on transients. There are 91 registered transients, 30 of which are in violation. As far as mental health goes, the actual statistic is that 40% of all Americans have some sort of mental issue. There are 10 of you up on the dais right now. 4 of you more than likely have mental issues. Look around, you probably know who they are. Okay? So as far as criminals go, I think you can find out just by asking your chief of police what the records are as far as how many people have committed major crimes in the city of Fresno, and you'll find out that probably most of them are housed. The majority of people that are unhoused are always looking for survival. Their problems are, how do I get something to eat? Where do I sleep tonight? Who's going to come in and take my things? What do I need to do to protect myself? If I'm a woman, 50% of the women living outdoors have been raped, okay? And that's not even molestation, that's outright rape. So we're talking about putting in a law that will further victimize the victims. This is not a problem that people call or refer to as homeless. This is a housing problem. According to your own housing element, you have completed elements, 1,158 units that are above moderate income. You have none that are at moderate income. You have 75 deed restricted low income, 22 low income non-deed restricted. And the thing that we're most concerned about is 213 very low income deed restricted and 55 very low non-deed restricted. When you have a ratio like this, you know that you're building housing for people that can afford it. You're not building housing for people that are
Robert.
on the edge.
Thank you, Robert.
Please, reconsider.
Up next, we have Robin McGehee.
I want to first say thank you for your family legacy of public service to this community, not only you, but your family before you. Your willingness to boldly and openly speak out and represent our community is something that I commend, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you to the council members who were willing to meet with us and to those who sat among us and offered support. I cannot thank you enough for that support. I also want to say that I stand in solidarity with the Sit, Lie, and Stand organizers because many of our youth are kicked out of their home and only find safety in the places that are listed as violations, including schools, public parks, etc. My two children who are in the job market themselves struggle to figure out how they'll be able to afford housing in this local community because the unemployment rate and the cost of housing sometimes makes that struggle more real. I also want to argue that as a queer activist and community member, I pray they do not find themselves unhoused and unsupported like many of our community does. I also want to stand in solidarity with the pickleball people in the House. For the 4 last administrations, I have been part of a community effort, including Alan Autry, Ashley Swearingen, Lee Brand, and now our current mayor, Jerry Dyer, to promote a liaison within city government. Although I deeply support the need of community funds for our local LGBTQ organizations, especially our largest organizations who serve the largest parts of our community and the activities that they provide, I am deeply advocating for a liaison who has the equivalent support and ear of the mayor, city council, and countless other community liaisons, and has the same equity of those positions that currently exist. I'd also like to point out a reminder that we are a part of all of the groups that have representation, but many of the times we are left out of being a true community partner. We are also a part of the youth, elder, BIPOC, and homeless contingents that are underrepresented, underreported because of their LGBT status. If you look at other major cities, you will see an LGBT liaison is very important, and it is also a successful structure. Why do I care? Ultimately, I am a county resident, but I care about this city as a Fresno resident. If you tell people in Fig Garden that they are not a part of this city government, I will tell you that they will laugh at you because they sit in a county seat, but they protest, they work, they participate in their churches as Fresno city citizens. I am a personal advocate because I believe in the mayor's message of One Fresno, which this city of Fresno City Council, I hope, is trying to reflect. I have walked precincts, volunteered, and donated, and will continue to do so for those who stand for our community having access, not just funding to take care of a hemorrhaging need that some organizations provide. Finally, fist in the air to the city council members who walked out on the hate speech of you, Councilmember Bredefield. And shame on you
Thank
for
you,
not
Robin.
having the Christ-like heart that I thought our city represented.
Thank you, Robin. Up next is DeAngelique Jackson, followed by Lauren Hubbard.
Good morning. I'm here addressing you all today as a young person, a community organizer, an advocate, not only for our homeless community, for our Black and Brown, Indigenous, our BIPOC community, and our trans community. The Sit, Lie, Sleep ordinance is mainly what I'd like to come to talk about today. I think limiting somebody to a backpack standing on a sidewalk and saying that you're going to confiscate their stuff or put them in harm's way with the law is a little bit unsafe for our residents. I'd like that this be reconsidered, and I'd like that more time be taken on it, because at the end of the day, when we think about Fresno's homeless population and our rates, since the pandemic, Fresno has been within the top 5 largest cities to see a rent hike. We have been in the middle of a homelessness crisis. And I think acting on this, incriminating our citizens is not the way to go about it. I think we could look at rent control. We could look at building tiny homes and things of that nature. The other thing that I wanted to comment on is the LGBTQ liaison within the Office of Community Affairs. I think this is something that we should take seriously as a community. So with that, thank you for your time, and I hope that you really consider voting no on the Sit, Lie, Sleep ordinance, because it is very harmful.
Thank you, DeAngelique. Lauren is up next.
My name is Lauren Hubbard. My pronouns are he, him, and today I wanted to use my voice to share my strong opposition to the proposed Sit, Lie, Sleep storage ordinance that seeks to criminalize homelessness. And while I do understand the challenges that our city faces in addressing this complex issue, the approach that this ordinance brings is fundamentally flawed and will only exacerbate the problem instead of providing meaningful solutions. Criminalization is not the answer. Compassion and comprehensive support is. Homelessness is a societal issue that stems from a multitude of factors that we should focus our efforts in addressing. The systemic problems that contribute to homelessness that this council can actually address, like the lack of affordable housing, adding mental health support, address addiction, and the economic disparities that have plagued this city for too long. By making homelessness a crime, we are essentially punishing people for the circumstances that are beyond their control. Understanding that criminalization does not address the underlying issues and fails to recognize that these individuals that are experiencing homelessness are already victims of policy failures, policies that are made and can be changed by this council. So with that being said, we must strive for a compassionate and inclusive society and that values dignity and the well-being of all its members. Doing this ordinance only deepens the divisions and fails to address the systemic issues at play. We should work together to develop this comprehensive policy that engages partnerships, community organizations, and nonprofits. This is a misguided ordinance, and we should pursue humanity instead of criminalization. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lauren.
Marisa Morasa, pronouns she, her, hers, campaign director with Power California Action. I'm here to speak on several items. First, to oppose item 1U. I support the statements of community members who have spoken before me in opposition of this item. And also thank you to Councilmember Correa for voting no on this ordinance. We know that stable housing provides the foundation needed for our youth, elders, LGBTQ community, and families to focus on and improve their mental and physical health. Also, it's Pride Month, we know. Appreciate that there was a proclamation at the beginning of this meeting that there will be flag raising as well. But this is also an opportunity to really talk about the struggles that the LGBTQ community is facing in regards to housing. Thank you for folks who have spoken on this before me as well. And also wanted to uplift the Nowhere to Go report that Dr. Faubert was a part of in collaboration with Trans Emotion and the EOC LGBTQ Resource Center. In this study with over 600 participants, LGBTQ individuals who responded, 62% are renters in the county. And also this population notes high levels of harassment and also threats of eviction. We know when we support and fund resources for the most vulnerable, all are helped. That is why community has been pushing for and asking for an eviction protection program of $4 million, a rent control ordinance with just cause resolutions, funding for housing improvement and rehabilitation projects. Thank you for the motion of $100 million or $1 million, to acquire a building for a youth LGBTQ center. Let's keep going. Let's keep funding projects that are going to help promote housing, safety, stability, and protecting vulnerable populations. And as we finalize this budget this budget season, I hope, council, that you're asking yourselves, who are you prioritizing? Who are you listening to? Who are you resourcing? The community will be watching. Council, based on conversations with y'all in the past, we know that council is interested in tenant protections. So let's take action now by allocating funding this budget cycle. The city of Fresno does not have to repeat the mistakes of the past by making the same decisions that have left Black, Indigenous, people of color behind. Instead, we must have the courage to take care and choose to invest in us now when we need relief and support the most. Honor our humanity. It's time to take action now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kai Walker, and I'm a constituent of District 1 and a member of the LGBTQ community. I would like to speak in support of the City of Fresno designating funds to the LGBTQ community, specifically an LGBTQ liaison. It has been mentioned several times that HRC announced a national state of emergency for LGBTQ individuals. This applies to Fresno as white supremacist, homophobic, and transphobic extremists terrorize our community members and spaces. It is time the city puts the needs of vulnerable residents first, and 400 other community members agree with me. Secondly, I'd like to speak against the sit, lie, sleep, and store ordinance. This ordinance treats houselessness as a vanity issue and does nothing to help the circumstances of people who are experiencing extreme hardship. Where should an unhoused person go if they cannot exist in public spaces? If you did not have your home, if you were living paycheck to paycheck and lost your job, where would you go? The shelters are full, housing is unaffordable, and resources are overcrowded. And the only solution our city can come up with is to harass and dehumanize some of the most vulnerable people in our community, including taking their possessions, displacing them, and eradicating them from public view. Thank you to the many community members and organizations who put in the time and effort to protect our community, and I hope the City of Fresno can do just as good as they can.
Hi, Council. Ashley Cruzal Rojas, a resident of District 3 and 5th Gen Fresno, calling in this morning, and I'd like for us to say their names: Brianna Brinton, Kathy Escueda, and Eric Bennett, 3 of the many community members who have died as a result of policy decisions in our community persecuting poverty. I'm calling to speak in opposition to the sit, lay, sleep policy. It is heartless and regressive, and I want to thank Councilmember Perea for being the singular dissenting vote during its introduction. I also want to thank Councilmember Arias for your commitment to the unhoused community. You have made a lot of efforts to provide resources and support, and I hope you continue down that path and do not move to pass this effort today. I also want to thank you, Councilmember Arias, for the introduction of the opportunity to create a crisis housing center for LGBTQ youth. It's desperately needed in our community. Thank you for making that motion. I also want to thank the folks who have spoken before me. They are the leaders this community has been asking for. And I want to remind folks that you can run for office. These seats are yours, and there is plenty of help and resource in our community to make that happen. So please consider a run for office. Any of those seats could be yours. And definitely want to echo sentiments for an LGBTQ liaison. Today, hearing our community is a day that makes me proud to be 5th Gen Fresno. And I hope our city council hears and affirms our community today, instead of stepping on and over community voice and then asking why folks don't show up. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. My name is Pedro Navarro Cruz. I'm a District 3 resident and resident of Fresno for the last 22 years. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak today. I'm calling in today in support of the Eviction Protection Program budget and the City Attorney budget. the LGBTQ liaison in the mayor's office, and also to say a big no on 1U, the sit, lie, sleep ordinance. 1U feels like image control of the failed policies from this body, when in fact you can help struggling human beings by investing in resources like mental health services and passing rent control for a problem you clearly do not have under control, especially if you're willing to resort to violence. You have the power to spread compassion, but instead you continue to be complacent and rely on criminalization. I pray that you all as a body get it together. Also, I want to point out the elephant in the Parks Department and Parks Resources overall, which is the entitlement and special attention which the Fresno Area Pickleball Group is receiving. According to the Sports and Fitness Industry Association, the average income of the person that chooses to play recreational pickleball is $100,000 per year. May I remind you that the average household income in Fresno is $57,000. So when the pickleball lobbyists say pickleball courts for everyone, not only are they lying, but they are using their self-entitlement to contribute to failing on giving opportunities to youth that need creative solutions for the slow and misuse of Measure P funds. The Fresno Area Pickleball 200 people membership is not only unimpressive at all, and it only justifies what I'm sharing. One of those creative solutions is a national initiative by the U.S. Soccer Foundation called the Safe Places to Play Initiative. From the U.S. Soccer Foundation's website, in communities where space is at a premium, the U.S. Soccer Foundation developed what they call the mini pitch. These small, customized hardcourt spaces perfectly suited for organized soccer programs and pickup games. Not only do mini pitches provide quality surfaces for children and adults, but they also transform the look and feel of neighborhoods, end quote. The way the program works is the U.S. Soccer Foundation finds corporate sponsors for jurisdictions like the city of Fresno to receive funding for futsal courts, which also includes a multi-use court option to gift the funding of futsal courts. They do this because they know nationally lower income youth are disproportionately disadvantaged in being able to play soccer year round. So these courts are offering a solution nationwide, except in Fresno. Alongside the U.S. Soccer Foundation, we have requested to meet with the Parks Department so the city of Fresno can receive the gift of funding for these safe places to play. However, our requests to meet have been denied and funding ends up going to other cities. We didn't ask for general funds or Measure P funds, yet we still go ignore. All while pickleball is getting Measure P funding from the highest need bucket and general funds. Multi-use courts are common worldwide. The only difference is that our local pickleball group has a self-entitlement about them that is being perpetuated by elected officials and the Parks Department. While we are willing to settle for multi-use courts, because we are constantly ignored and marginalized. Please make decisions based on compassion. Tú eres mi otro yo. You are my other me. Spread some love, Fresno. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Hello, good morning, City Council. My name is Ruben Espinoza, policy advocate with Fresno Barrios Unidos, and I'm calling in today to show support for the $2.6 million in the eviction protection program, as well as the LGBTQ liaison. I just want to say how important an LGBTQ liaison is for this city, as throughout the year we see them endure aspersions and attacks, not only from hate groups like the Proud Boys, but also even aspersions and hate speech from this dais. I also want to encourage that we look at the crossovers of who is committing this hate in our city, and it's the same folks that came up to your door, Mr. Arias. The group that continues to ally itself with the Proud Boys, the extreme right-wing lunatics, and also want to oppose the sit, lie, sleep ordinance. As you've heard from many advocates for the LGBTQ community say that this overwhelmingly and disproportionately impacts the LGBTQ community and would only further criminalize instead of help them. So I say let's team up together with the community and make smart policy that will help better the lives of everybody in Fresno. And thank you for your time.
Hi, this is Carla Martinez with Leadership Council. First, I do want to echo the sentiments said by folks at proposed item 1U. Efforts should instead be concentrated in implementing solutions such as rent control with tenant protections, safe lots and services. And as you all continue budget conversations today, we need to continue to fund the eviction protection program. We want to emphasize the importance of keeping a program like this running and urge the City Council to fund the eviction protection program for $4 million per year to expand the program in order to have education, outreach, and the housing services to go beyond evictions. We do continue to refer folks over to this and have heard success stories of folks avoiding evictions on their records and having their families stay housed. We recommend general fund or local housing trust fund dollars be allocated to continue the expansion and continuation of this program. When we talk about solving our homelessness crisis, this program is just one solution to that, not the sit, lie, sleep ordinance. Lastly, I want to make comments in support of item 1G. We are excited to see this project move forward and executing the funds to finally get the residents of Three Palms Mobile Home Park clean and safe water. For years, the residents of Three Palms have had to purchase and use bottled water to cook, clean dishes, and shower in while still having to pay for water and their monthly bill. We do look forward to seeing this water connection occur and hope to see a wastewater resolution come forward soon. Thank you.
Hello, council members and city staff. My name is Alexandra Alvarado. I'm a community organizer with Faith in the Valley. I'm calling in today to oppose 1U, which is criminalizing homelessness. Already, people are harassed and threatened, bullied on the streets of Fresno. The city of Fresno is choosing to criminalize our communities when they are nearly surviving by sitting, sleeping, resting, and eating, all activities everyone in this room does. Instead of looking to cities who have imposed similar ordinances, instead of criminalization, which is most humane, expensive, and least effective way of addressing homelessness, look to Charlotte, North Carolina. The city saved $2.4 million in a year after creating a housing first facility. Consider housing and not handcuffs approach. Invest in people, invest in harm reduction services. For the liaison position for the LGBTQ plus community, beyond performative actions or allyship, this liaison position is low-hanging fruit for this administration. Let's get this position solidified. Lastly, we support the continued funding for the EPP program. In addition, some really important key parts that will help this program is a hotline to support tenants, legal representation for tenants facing unlawful detainers, and real-time, same-day legal advice and representation at the courthouse on eviction days.
My issue of today is the mental health and y'all taking people's stuff that shouldn't be taken, and I think that's wrong. Y'all ain't nothing but a modern day gang up there at City Hall. And y'all need to pay more attention to what's going on out there with the homeless. Y'all sitting behind y'all desk and not really paying attention and just listening to what people say, and y'all still not paying attention. Because when people's talking, y'all not paying attention to them. Y'all walking around talking to each other, and that's wrong. Y'all need to pay attention to what's really going on in Fresno. Not just the homeless, it's the mental illness that's out here. Now, they are out here getting on drugs, and that's dangerous. And y'all need to do something about it. Yeah, I will give it to y'all. Y'all did fix up a lot of homeless shelters out here. I'm in one of them, and I appreciate that. But back to the ones that's not in here and the ones that's out there and the elderly, they're the one that really need it. Y'all need to quit forgetting about them and start going out there and visiting them, letting them know that y'all are here to help them instead of pushing them away. In that ordinance that y'all trying to get started, where you can't be here and you can't be there, what is y'all trying to do? Police this county or what? Y'all need to stop that. We don't need that. It's already bad enough that it's a lot of people out here that's homeless that really need help. And then y'all gonna take their belongings. Some of them been having their belongings with them for years. And y'all wanna take it and tell people where they can and can't sit or sit down or rest. I don't know what's going on with y'all. Y'all need to get out there personally and get out there and see what's going on instead of sitting behind y'all high-paid desks. I don't think that's right. And half of y'all don't really care what these people are talking about. You can see it in y'all face. Y'all can't wait till this is over with, and then y'all go sit in y'all high-paid office and laugh and talk about it. Yeah. If we all get together and start striking, I think things will get started. And I'm all for it. Whoever ready to strike City Hall, I'm for it. To get the mentally ill off the street and the elderly. Because it's dangerous out there for them. And y'all need to do something about it real bad. And that's all I have to say. And again, I appreciate y'all for the homeless shelters that y'all don't put together and
Thank you,
y'all
Eric.
putting together.
There are no more speakers.
Thank you. Okay.
Council President Interim, I'd like to withdraw 1C and 1D from contested and leave it on consent agenda.
Okay, Councilmember Arias has withdrawn 1C and 1D, so those will remain on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the ballots of the consent calendar?
So move.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Arias, a second by Councilmember Carbasi. Any opposition?
Council President, was it item 1C and 1D that are now back on consent?
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay, no opposition.
Any opposition? Nope, okay. Then the item passes 6-0. I just want to reiterate too, my recorded no vote on 1U previously.